Okay, I'd like to call this special City Council Committee of the Whole meeting to order. It is Thursday, March 19th, 2026. It's 6:30, let's call it 6:33. Let's see, I guess, do you want to call the roll or should I? I guess I'll call the roll. Jessica Cohen? Here. I thought you were here. Craig Cobb? Crickets. Tony Kudas here. Gail Larson? Here. Jim Posh?
Here.
And on the screen, on Zoom, we have Sarah Stone. Oh, not in yet. Okay. And how about Joe DeWitt Foy? Not yet. Well, they will be joining us by Zoom. So today we're here to talk about the Blanche Avenue Extension Project. And this is a listening session. So we'll have an hour for public comment. The first thing we're going to do, though, is have an introduction by Mayor Petras.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't have too much to say, but I appreciate everyone who is attending this evening's meeting. Just to reiterate what President Kudas said, this is intended to be a listening session. So my understanding is that the staff are going to give a brief presentation, and then afterwards, Mr. Bocanez is here to talk for a few moments, and it's really an opportunity to hear from residents about your thoughts on the project.
And I'll just say that this topic, just so you know, is something that we've talked, council has talked very little about. We had one really short briefing, and it was some months ago. So we're here to learn as much as you all are, and the staff and Bocanez, the developer, will be giving us some information. I just want you to understand there's no preconceived anything here. We're taking in information, and then we'll see what happens. So the next, who's going to talk from the planning staff first? We have Assistant Director Karen Knittel and Economic Development Assistant Director Brian Anderson. And just so you know, Brian Iorio is here as well from the planning staff. And Joe DeWitt Foy has joined us on Zoom.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. President, Mr. Mayor, and Council. We appreciate this time and that we can review this project with the public and with you. So we wanted to start with just a brief project description. The Blanche Avenue Road Extension Project involves construction of approximately 1,250 linear feet of roadway from the current dead end of Blanche Avenue just east of Revere Road to Andrews Road at the city's border, as well as Andrews Road from Blanche Avenue to Bainbridge. So on the diagram, you can see the green portion on Blanche would be the construction, and the blue line going north is Andrews. The proposed project will also include installation of curbs, a sidewalk, water line, catch basin, storm sewer, and sanitary sewer. The construction of the roadway and infrastructure would allow the potential for future construction by a private developer of about 25 single-family houses on the north side of the street. There will be no development on the south side of the street of the new roadway because this is a municipal park and a conservation area belonging to the city of South Euclid. Finally, the city has had preliminary conversation with South Euclid staff about the possibility of providing access to this Oakwood Park as part of this project. So since before Cleveland Heights was a city, Blanche Avenue has been planned to extend to Andrews Road in order to complete the street and residential pattern of the Taylor-Milliken neighborhood east of South Taylor and south of Severance. The roadway and lots were platted in the mid-1910s as part of the Taylor Heights allotment, but this section of the subdivision was never built. The lots are generally 40 to 50 feet wide and about 125 to 130 feet deep. The 1921 zoning map shows Blanche extending east to meet Andrews Road. All of the parcels are shown on this map, and the parcels are zoned for single-family residential use. An August 1921 plan for improving Blanche Avenue showed a water main and sanitary sewers from Compton Road on the west all the way to Andrew Road on the east. Planning and zoning maps through the 1950s and 60s and forward through time show the current map show, including the current map, show Blanche Avenue and the parcels as on the maps. A 1995 city street and points of interest map included Blanche Avenue through to Andrews Road. So records indicate that the completion of this residential subdivision on Blanche Avenue, including the roadway and infrastructure, were impacted directly by the Great Depression. Since that time, there's documentation of the city revisiting the Blanche Avenue subdivision, showing that the desire to complete this neighborhood remained. In May of 1978, planning staff reviewed possible housing development that could be accommodated on these parcels. In October of 1988, the staff concluded that there was no water and sewer Blanche Avenue east of Maple, and that Maple Road, on Maple Road, they stopped at Bainbridge. In 2002, a housing development site was discussed, including the Blanche and Andrews area, describing it as a 5-acre parcel divided into 29 vacant single-family parcels. And then in 2004 to early 2005, the possibility of Blanche Andrew housing project was again reviewed. City staff confirmed that despite the 1921 plot map showing a complete sewer main along Blanche Avenue to Andrews, there was no physical evidence that this portion of the sewer was completed. They televised the sewer beginning at Revere Road and worked eastward and found that there was a bulkhead just inside the field eastward side from the last house on Blanche. Now we're going to switch it up.
So I guess a question to ask, and I'm going to try just to talk rather than read that relatively long paragraph, is why is the city considering this now? And, you know, whether it's been since I've started here, the master plan, various plans, you know, the current, you know, mayor and feedback from council is placing a priority on seeing new investment in housing, new housing opportunities across a variety of typologies and price points. You know, obviously we've done some projects in recent years that have addressed and brought new units online, particularly in the rental market. Both the current projects like Nobility Court on the affordable side, and then, you know, your Cedar Lee and Top of the Hill projects, which are market rate apartments. So we've made some progress on that front, while also wanting to see new investment, new opportunities for owner-occupant and single-family housing investment and redevelopment. And that's consistent with what we've been trying to do with some of our infill lots. You know, we reached an agreement with 2 different entities for 65 lots to do infill housing. And certainly, you know, we're also you know, fundamentally supportive of opportunities that involve private property like this as well. You know, and then additionally, you know, again, going back to the history, this completes the grid and street plan, you know, for that neighborhood. So, there we go. Okay. Sorry. It completes the grid and street plan for that neighborhood. It increases connectivity for all the people in the neighborhood in that area. It provides an opportunity to open up better access to the green space that is in South Euclid that currently exists, which really is walled off from all the people that are directly adjacent to that property currently. It also provides an opportunity to upgrade sidewalks and utilities and some things both on that street and the areas in and around it as well.
So we just wanted to review some of the public engagement that has been going on. There is a website on the city's webpage that has all of this information posted on it, and our last slide has that actual web address on there. This is written so that if it was published, you could click that as a link. Council did authorize a contract with GPD to prepare a civil and landscape plan for the road. Letters to neighbors and a public engagement session was held last summer, July 7th 17th, we met along Maple Road to review the plans and talk about this proposed project. There's been newsletter announcements currently in process. There is a Section 106 historic review as well as an environmental review that are under process, and we anticipate those being completed by April of this year. Tonight's listening session, of course, is another way to engage. And then what we hope to do is take the information and any substantial questions and comments we receive tonight, create a frequently asked question that can then be posted again on this webpage to provide additional information. And I think it's you again.
There's a few additional, I think, things to point out when thinking about this project. This does not create a through street between Taylor and Warrensville. So it is, just an extension of the neighborhood serving grid and the streets in that area. The city does own 2 parcels out of the 29 or so, but the rest are all privately owned. So this is, largely beyond the need for a public street to go in. These are all privately owned, single-family zone platted lots that currently don't have access. And putting the street in would provide the access to allow the development that was always intended to happen there. The city was not involved in the previous real estate transactions. Obviously, there's a history. The country club originally owned a lot of those lots, eventually went to the Hebrew Academy. And now there's a developer that has begun to acquire or has options to acquire those lots, potentially to build single-family houses on them. And we'll hear from the developer here in a moment as well. The costs associated here, we do have a federal grant to offset a large chunk, especially of the design and some of the initial costs associated with the improvements needed here. And it's anticipated the rest of the cost would be incurred by an assessment on the properties that are along Andrews along this stretch there. So it is not a cost that would come out of the general fund or be picked up by the rest of the city. And then just a quick comment, I did some really preliminary draft economic impacts to think about a little bit as well. Something to, keep in mind. So my assumptions here, and this presentation will go on the webpage that we have for this project. So don't feel like you have to consume all of this instantaneously. So I think these are pretty conservative estimates as far as the number of homes. I did 20 homes, average household income of about $150,000, average price point of about $500,000, which sounds like a lot, but in today's market, building new, you're at $150 to $200 a square foot to build anything right now. And then running the income tax number for the city at 1.75%, which sort of accounts for people who get the credit who work outside the city, as opposed to our 2.25%. And then this area, if you look at our map for our tax abatement zone, so all of our residential tax abatements are by right. Like there isn't a specific tax abatement for policy for this project. It's determined by the CRA ordinance and the CRA zones. This lands in what is a gold zone on this map here, which equates for new construction to a 75% 12-year tax abatement. We'll talk more about the tax abatement in general and how anybody in the city can benefit from that potentially. But even with that taken into account, you can see the impacts both in terms of income tax projections here and also property tax projections that, this project moving forward based upon these assumptions still nets out over $8 million of new tax revenue to the city and schools over a 30-year period.
Sorry, 8 million? 8
million. Mm-hmm. So about 1.5, 1.6 in income tax, 6.4 million of property tax, of which 4.5 of that goes to the schools, and then a smaller portion then goes to the city, 645,000, as well as county and library and things like that. We don't want to take up a ton of time, but obviously, when we've been working with GDP, who's the engineering firm, we've taken a number of things into consideration in terms of, fire and safety, what are the widths and radiuses, and things like that we need to see for a project like this. And we also do want to be able to incorporate, public comment, community feedback into the design process moving forward. And that includes working with a landscape architect in the city of South Euclid to provide that access to the park as well. I did want to talk a little bit about the CRA program generally. So it is a citywide program, and tax benefits are available for both renovation of existing homes and for new construction throughout the city. Now it ranges on the renovation side from 50% in 7 years and goes up to 12 years and 100% for renovations. And then there's similar sort of tiered structure based upon your location, in the city. So the CRA program offers a tax exemption of some percent of new housing value created. So again, that doesn't necessarily apply to what someone's taxes may be today. But if you were to make, significant or want to make significant improvements to your home, whether it's a renovation or an addition that, will probably add significant value to your house, there is the opportunity for residents to take advantage of that program as well, just like a new construction opportunity as well. Also, we wanted to highlight some of the programs that are available to existing residents as well. We wanted to just touch on the HPO program very, very briefly. And Brian Iorio will be better able to address that.
Thank you. So we thought it'd be a good idea to share the housing resources available to primarily property owners in the city of Cleveland Heights. And these programs are universal across the whole city. The Housing Preservation Office, which is the city office for housing repair, has a number of programs. A lot of them are, they're all income qualified. So I guess I'd say half of them are longstanding programs. They're CDBG funded. So we have home repair programs and senior home repair programs. Those are capped at 80% of area median income. So for a family of 4, that's around $80,000. And luckily, due to the American Rescue Plan Act, or ARPA funds, that was passed by council in 23, I believe, there's similar programs that go up to 120% of AMI, so that's about $120,000 for a 4-person household. We also work closely with the Home Repair Resource Center. So if anyone's interested in benefiting from these city resources for home repair, I'd suggest you call 216-291-5900. That's 291-5900. Or you can check out our website, look for housing preservation when you get to the search bar. But there's a number of ways that the city can help current homeowners.
All right, thank you. Before I call up Mr. Knez, I want to let you know that Sarah Stone, Councilwoman Sarah Stone, has joined us on Zoom. Even though I can't see her, she says she can see us and hear us, so I guess that's good.
Just before we wrap up, just real quick, there are, a whole series of next steps that would flow out of, tonight and, the whole process here. So, tonight isn't the end of, the discussion or what happens next. As far as design and approvals and planning, there's still a variety of things that need to happen. Again, the whole presentation from tonight will be online on the webpage, and then that's the webpage for those who are interested in looking up at the additional information that's been posted there as well. So I guess, at this point, that concludes the staff portion here. So we'll, Bo Knez, the president and CEO of Knez Homes, is here, and he was going to say just a few comments about, their plans here. So, yeah.
Good evening, Bo Knez, 7555 Friedel Drive, Concord Township. I am a residential and commercial builder developer throughout the state of Ohio. Our current wingspan is Sandusky to the west, Perry Village to the east, and Columbus and Hocking Hills to the south. We self-build and self-develop about 40 to 60 homes per year. We develop about 400 to 500 lots per year, and some of those that we build on, some we sell to local and national home builders, some we sell to homeowners that build their own homes. I've been doing this for, like I said, 38 years, raised in Cleveland on East 55th St. Clair area, still reside on the east side. This parcel was brought to us by a broker that knew what our line of work was. We then, this was I think 3 years ago, met with the city. The city expressed interest and had a long-term plan to extend, as Brian said, extend and develop the Blanche Road. We at that time began acquiring properties, and the city, as Brian said, applied for a grant through, I think it was Councilwoman Brown, to help fund the redevelopment of the property. Like I said, we've been in this process for about 3 years now. I was asked to introduce myself. I'm open to any questions that anybody, council or the audience has.
Council members? Any council members want to ask questions? Okay, I guess you're off the hook.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to move to public comment now. Persons wishing to speak need to register in advance. And this is the only topic we can talk about tonight, just so you know, because this is a special meeting, and that's the charter rule. You have a 3-minute time. How many do we have?
Oh, how many? It's a dozen.
Okay, while you're counting, we have a 3-minute time limit. Just make sure when you come up, you say your name and the street you live on. And I am going to keep it to 3 minutes because I think we have
10.
10 comments? Oh, well, that's I thought we'd have more. So go ahead and call the first person.
Cindy Carol Pankhurst.
I don't want to go first.
Yeah, you don't want her first.
Okay. Lawrence Bradley.
I'll be happy to go first.
Is it Lawrence Bradley is up first?
Yeah, Mr. Brantley, before you start, if there's anybody who would like to speak but hasn't filled out a form yet, please go over right here and fill out the form and then hand it to Mr. Iorio. The floor is yours.
Yes, Lawrence Bradley, 3776 Bainbridge Road. I guess the first thing is hearing that this has been going on for 3 years and it was never brought to our attention as tax-paying citizens. I think that's wrong. I've been here 6 times, and every time I've come to the council, everybody had blank stares and said they knew nothing about it. If you don't know nothing about it and you're not going to investigate it, you should at least send the citizen to the department that's handling it, you know. So basically, everything we've heard is through rumors. So that's disappointing. I also saw that basically the sewer line is cut off right now. The amount of money that's going to take to get that going. You have 41 to 50 or 60 properties that are available to be rebuilt now. They should be rebuilt first rather than trying to reconstruct an entire sewer and line that hasn't been available. They're already available. So, you know, and then now the other rumors I'm hearing, which is that they're going to take part of our land. Well, I own a property behind my house, and they're talking about taking part of the land in order to build a street, and that's just not acceptable. And I definitely didn't want. I mean, we've never wanted the land, the entrance into the South Euclid Park from our side. That's just something there's already enough traffic and we're on a dead end now. I don't know what it would be like otherwise. The other thing that I'm hearing, you know, of course, as I'm watching your presentation, a lot of things that were put up there were things that my neighbors and I had put, you know, as we found out things, you know, because, you know, Bainbridge is you can't even drive down the sides of the street. You have to drive down the middle because of the number of potholes and everything down there. So as tax-paying citizens, let's fix our stuff before we build new for somebody who's coming in. They get a brand new road, they get brand new houses, they get tax abatements, and we get nothing out of it. So this is something that's very upsetting to me. And the fact that you knew this for 3 years, and I've been up here 7 times, and finally at the last time, somebody said, well, maybe you should go to the Planning Commission. Somebody could have told me that the first time I came up here. And so it's just upsetting that nobody ever talked to me and said where I should go in order to express my concerns. And, you know, I've seen this a couple of times, and it's very disappointing. So, yeah, I'm still against it. I don't know who's pushing this or who put it, but they obviously didn't want the taxpaying citizens to know anything about it. That's the way it seems to me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Patricia Frost Brooks.
Good evening. Patricia Frost Brooks, 3782 Bainbridge Road. Lawrence and I are neighbors, and he articulated very well what I was going to ask. But as I listened to the presentation, I saw more questions arise. As was stated that it was started back in 2002, 2005, a housing review. And again, why weren't we told of this? And I myself has been up here to City Council many times and asked the same questions. New opportunities and new investments. There are other places within the city that I think that could have had new opportunities and new investments. Besides what's happening in my backyards with these 65 lots that are privately owned, and who are they privately owned by? And we were not given the opportunity to buy the lots that are in the back of our homes. Councilwoman now, Cohen, were you the chair of the city commission that was planning all of this? Is that the name of it, city development and planning or something that is separate than council?
The Planning Commission hasn't been involved yet.
If I may ask, what was now Councilwoman Cohen a member of the chair of?
The Planning Commission, but we're actually not going to do a back and forth now, so go.
We're not going to go back and forth.
Yeah,
Okay.
I just want to make sure you have your time to say everything you want to say.
I got it. Again, it's going to cause great disruption to our neighborhood. The city's gain is going to be our loss to a community, to the residents that are there, that may have disruption in our lives, in our children's lives that are there. The disruption of building something that has been in existence for 99 years or so, and now you plan on building something there and disrupting this community when there are other streets and other parcels within Cleveland Heights where you can have new opportunities and new investments. Thank you.
Rita L. Bolton.
Oh, my. Tony calls that. Good evening. My name is Rita Bolton. I'm a 50-year resident of Cleveland Heights. First of all, I don't like talking to people that are totally involved in the projects that's going on. I don't like my back to persons because we should be speaking to the people that's paying the money for the project.
Actually, you have to address the chair when you're.
Thank you so much, Tony.
Sure.
One of my questions is, I keep hearing about the Hebrew Academy. My taxes keep going up, but I want to know, councilperson, do they pay tax on Blanche? That is a question. I know you don't have the answer tonight. Seem like they have a lot of voice. All the years I've been on Blanche, somebody's gonna run into a serious problem, Mr. Construction Person, because there's always been ponds back there. So it's gonna be a very serious water problem back there. It's going to exceed this federal grant trying to run off all that water that's back there. They know about that. why isn't the safety forces part of this meeting? Because certainly if we are bringing in all of these new residents, we're going to need to add to the fire department and to the police department. Am I correct or not, Blanche neighbors?
Yes.
They need to be part of this meeting also. So that is a big concern of mine. And they're talking about this 1 year abatement. 1 year? No, for this noise level. When they start, I want to know that I'm going to be compensated. I have been on this earth for close to 80 years, believe it or not. I'm close, okay? Not far from 80 years old, so can't fool me about many things. I'm sitting, I'm not saying much. Remember, I told you I had a lot of questions I need to talk to you personally about. We'll talk about it later. Thanks, Tony. Tony knows me well.
Yes, I do. Thank you, Rita.
Lou Radivozovic?
Just
Radivojevich.
Lou Rad.
I'm actually, just get more questions. My name's Lou Radivojevic, Middlehurst Road. One of it is the $850,000 grant coming from HUD. I guess I'd like to know more about that grant, know exactly whether that could be applied to different parts of our city that could probably use it more than this particular area. And then I look at the dollar value that the city is looking to spend. And from what I gather, it was 2.5 million is what I've come across from the past data, where 800,000 is part of the grant. That means that we need to figure out 1.6 million as a city. And if I heard the finance committee about a month ago, I think you suggested that we really need to go on a moratorium, that we got like zero money to spend. We don't have our rating. So I ask myself, is it makes sense for us to build basically a private driveway for private development? When we can take that 1.6 million, I'm guessing everybody behind me and anybody listening would rather see 1.6 million going to take care of our existing roads. I mean, driving up here was pretty bad. Well, that's my take, and I just look and hearing these folks here, I just feel like there's a lot of questions out here. I mean, I'd love to see a master plan of this area. There's always little bits going on, but I don't see a vision for these neighbors here. You know, what's taking place? So I think from the planning department, what's the 5-year vision? What's the 10-year vision? Show us what you intend to do rather than just these little pieces that take place. So again, I think they deserve to see that, you know, as neighbors. And lastly, I mean, I think that there's an element of just seeing where there might be some gentrification taking place here. You know, as existing homeowners, you know, they've been here for a long time. They earned to stay here. And, you know, this might be textbook down the road that we look back at urban studies, that this is a form of gentrification. Thank you.
Amy Eugene?
Thank you. Amy Eugene, Scarborough Road. I'm going to need to go a little bit off script because after what I've heard, I just think that moving this project forward is pretty unconscionable, especially if you all say that you haven't even known about it, but the developer's known about it for 3 years. Chantel Brown got a grant for this city for $150,000, and you all don't know about this project. The other thing is why. Like, I appreciate what Lou said, a driveway for fancy new houses. But anyways, here's the route that I was gonna take. This project, I can see, is a blessing for the health and vitality of our tight-knit Orthodox Jewish community. The thing to know, and you've heard me say before, representation matters. And this is an example of what can occur when there is representation at the decision-making and leadership tables. This project will enable a lovely avenue from one Hebrew Academy site to the other in the elementary school. I imagine the Hebrew Academy might one day put a driveway out onto Andrews Road, creating a flowing transportation pathway. According to the county auditor's website as of today, 22 of the 29 property parcels on this section of Blanche are owned by the Hebrew Academy. So when we put all these things together, along with the recent houses of worship legislation, it tells me that the Orthodox Jewish community of Cleveland Heights knows how to get this kind of stuff done. And representation does matter. Lou talked about the plan for the city. I think that Cleveland Heights needs to be privy to the master plan for the Hebrew Academy, given the land that they are accruing in Cleveland Heights. This is a list as of today off the county auditor's website. Cleveland Heights, through Mr. Zamp's leadership, Ms. Cohen's leadership, has demonstrated what is possible for just this one neighborhood. So Mayor, Council, Mr. Zamp, Ms. Cohen, I imagine there are resources and relationships that you have gained through this project that can be leveraged to improve the health and vitality of other Cleveland Heights neighborhoods in need. And wouldn't that also be a blessing? Once again, this is why representation at the leadership and decision-making tables matters. Without it, decisions get made and people get left out and get negatively impacted. Thank you.
Robin Coslin.
I got this. Robin Coslin. I live on Wood Road, which is in the neighborhood, but maybe a neighborhood adjacent. I would like to address CRAs. And I'm just so angry right now that the more you give tax abatement to individuals, the more I have to pay and the more the rest of us have to pay. And I'm just angry. Your CRA, whatever paperwork has to be totally reviewed so it's to the benefit of the community. I thought it was really interesting that the forecast started at 10 years and then 20 years and then 30 years, because if you give 75% tax abatement, those first 10 years mean you're getting, I almost used bad language, incredibly little. We have a school system that needs to be funded, and that's my job. I don't have children going to the public schools anymore, and that just doesn't matter. But we as a community are supposed to each pay our fair share. If you keep allowing others not to pay, that means the rest of us have to pay more. And I think you seriously need to look at all the policies that are allowing many. You know what? In the neighborhood, I've been canvassing the Cuyahoga County website. There's a house that's sold for $844,000 that has been assessed at $500 a year. Help me with this. You gotta help me. Because I live in a very modest home and I don't begrudge my taxes. I want to do the best I can for the kids in my public schools, but I want all of us to do it. And so look at the bigger picture right now. Quit giving abatement to others. We're not benefiting it from you. Individuals are benefiting, the community is not. Thank you.
Lee Roth.
I just have a little picture here for a park, potential park. Dear Cleveland Heights city leaders and dear neighbors and Knez developer, my name is Lee Roth and I live on Blanche. My family bought our house on Blanche in 1972. My mom chose it because of the dead end, and we kids loved playing in the field and seeing the neighboring golf course green space. And if any of you know anything about Oakwood, that's where Paul Newman used to play, so it's quite an interesting place. I would like to tell you a little bit about our neighborhood, and then I would like to make a couple suggestions if this is to go forward. So even today, we see kids playing at the end of our dead end at Blanche. We plant flowers, we clean up the dead end portion because the city doesn't maintain it, the current owners don't maintain it. So it's left to us at Blanche to do it, right near our end. Obviously, we have homeowners here who make a beautiful backyard, by the way, behind Bainbridge. Our multicultural, multi-generational, diverse neighborhood is some of the densest in Cleveland Heights. Our people per square mile is 35% higher than the average in Cleveland Heights. That means more houses, more people, and less space for green space. Unfortunately, our tract, which is 1409 in Cuyahoga County, if you look it up, is one of the least tree canopy tracts in Cleveland Heights at 10%. And that was also noted by your resiliency director in a recent grant from Cuyahoga County. Along with the Blanche Extension project, there are many projects that have already moved trees from our neighborhood, like the Walmart development, and there's many more to come. Your Severance project has indicated that you're going to put streets through there. That's going to remove trees. It's going to put more cut through into our very, very busy neighborhood. Our neighborhood has large families, the elderly, and everyone in between, and trees and green space are healthy and economically important. Did I say that right? Economically important for any neighborhood. Where the city and the landowners may see development opportunities in our green space, we ask that you see Cleveland Heights virgin forests and lightly developed green spaces as a key part of the aforementioned health and value of our neighborhoods. The value of Milliken and Blanche neighborhood is tied to our green space and our multiple dead ends as it has created stability in ownership. So note, we have a lot of dead ends. And that really makes it very viable, and really people want to live there because it's quiet on the dead ends. But the rest of our neighborhood is a track race with cars coming through all the time. So we talked about generational wealth, and there is this issue in that neighborhood is if we take that away from people who have maintained their homes, these are middle income to low income people who have passed along their homes to their other generations. Now for the suggestions. If we go ahead with the Blanche extension, I'm suggesting we don't do the cut through. What we didn't see in the project, and I'm going to go over, but there's a curve in the road, people. This is not good. Because there wasn't enough room to go through, the road curves. This could be a traffic hazard. So what we'd want to do is maybe not let it come through there and just come through Andrews and Maple.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Lee.
Okay.
Your time's up.
I'm gonna have to have my husband read the rest. Thank you. Good thing. All right, you gotta read this part.
Well done.
How efficient here.
That's good.
Oh, and
You have
I'm
some-
willing to help with anything, whether it's
I think your thing is
financial
off.
or design.
Nedra Robinson.
I'm sorry, Robinson?
Oh.
I didn't hear the first name.
Sorry if I mispronounced it. Is it Anedra? Anedra? Sorry.
Nidra.
Hi, my name is Anedra Robinson. I live at 3711 Blanche Avenue. I've been there for 19 years. Pretty much my comments are a repeat of what you already heard. I did write some concerns down, especially where we discussed the disruption of our neighborhood. We were already getting used to the idea of just having the plaza out there with the Walmart and all that. The traffic that comes through there is crazy. We never had that amount of traffic. I raised a daughter in the area, and she had a fine time playing there with no traffic, but now the traffic is crazy as it is. There's no stopping at any stop signs over there. The police don't come over there and police unless we call and badger them. So they definitely need to be in on this project because somebody's gonna need to be out there. Just the noise alone from the traffic that's already coming through there. We built more houses there. There's more noise there. There's more hanging out there. There's more things that we just don't trash. Like you want to have these fancy houses out there, but who's out there to pick up the trash and all that besides myself and Miss Rita, who live out there right now? It's already an issue. And then the bad roads is already an issue as well. There's a big hole right in front of my house right now. They come out there and they fill it in, and then by the next summer, it's already back there. That too. Okay, and so even in the dead end, it's a track race right now because I live at the intersection of Revere and Blanche. And right now it's a track race. People do not stop at that stop sign ever. They just fly through there. I almost got hit today picking up trash on the street. I walked out and went to pick up the trash across the street at my neighbor's house, and a van ran straight past me and almost hit me. So I'm very concerned about opening up that road to more traffic, more houses, more congestion, It's bad enough as it is already, and I think that people deserve to have a voice. I didn't know anything about this within the last year. And like I said, I've been here 19 years. So the fact that somebody knows about it 3 years before we even get, or at least 2 years before we even hear rumor about it is very concerning to me. And I planned to retire and live out the rest of my days on Blanche Avenue, but I don't see that happening if this project takes place. So that's all I have to say.
Amen.
Cindy Carroll Pankhurst,
Pass. I got nothing.
Jim Yoler.
Thanks. Before I start, if I could have the slide go back to, I think it was yours that had the map. Who had the map? There we are. It's one of the earlier slides. One more, right there. All right. I'm Jim Mueller,
There you go.
3691 Blanche. In a previous life, I was a naval officer, where we learned early on in a nuclear power plant, the first accident is the last accident. So you don't have any accidents. This is how I feel very strongly about the Orthodox community on Friday nights in December. The families are walking around, especially in snow. They walk in the street. One distracted driver, one drunk driver that takes out a family, and that's the last accident. I think the Orthodox community will wake up, recognize that maybe it's not so safe here, and leave. That would be a tragedy. I think this plan will just aggravate that problem. So my obligatory statement here, given the trees and green space increase property values, whether for new or existing development, including green space design in all Cleveland Heights urban designs, is a good financial business transaction for the city. I'd like to suggest a pocket park be created in the new development. Really, there should be a planning design rule in Cleveland Heights that all developments hold 10 to 15% of the design for public green space, especially when never developed green space is being removed. Cleveland Heights owns 2 properties within the Blanche extension, and I suggest that they trade the Hebrew Academy for 2 of their lots nearest the original Blanche neighborhood. And my wife and I are free to help with any further input. Now, what I'd suggest, I'm going to have to go up to the map here.
Well, nobody can hear you if you don't talk on the mic.
You can repeat what I'm saying.
Oh, jeez. I got a job now.
You can take the hands off.
We're going to cut through. I suggest you make this road a dead end.
All right, so he says cut through and make which road a dead end? Revere a dead end.
Dead end.
All right.
Already a mess.
That's right.
Cut through Revere. Cut that traffic off if you're going to increase this traffic.
All right. He said it's already a mess and you got to cut that off to make it work.
Yeah, you have to make a dead end somewhere. You're taking away a dead end, create another one.
That's right.
Okay. Thank you.
This is the last one, Zenobia Sheets.
Good evening, Zenobia Sheets, Lee and Euclid Heights area. I am coming to speak about the abatement portion of it. I'm hearing that TIFs is like the new financing model for developers. And unfortunately, it's not like welcomed amongst all residents. And it's kind of removing our informed rights to, change our financial economic layouts within our homes. These private developers are receiving public funds for personal gain, and it's not a good financial plan, ultimately. My personal taxes for my home, which is less than an acre parcel, went from $6,000 to $10,000. That's a lot. And I am funding private developers that definitely have the money, have the assets, or the potential to gain their own financial layouts. So we have to find another financing model for some of these projects. That's a lot. Secondly, are we able to, as a city, now whether you choose to share it publicly or not, that's your own discretion, are we able to look at a map of the spending to make sure that these developments, these investments and so forth on are being made equitably throughout the city? When you look at the current proposals for the CDBG in which this sewer project is mislabeled as youth services, and we're now hearing that this is actually a sewer project for a private developer, it's not a good look. And I mean, I love the city. I want to stay here. I want to be able to continue to be an asset where I can. However, we have to actually work in good faith and work together in good faith if possible. So that's all.
Thank you. All right, did council have any questions or comments to make?
I have one comment.
Sure.
And I am truly, I'm a little bit overcome, so I apologize, but Amy Eugene's comments were so offensive to me just now. They are the same theme of Natalie McDaniel's anti-Semitic comments about me that I didn't know about until a year later, and now I just had to sit here and see it, hear it spoken to my face. The idea that there is some sort of Orthodox Jewish conspiracy here in this city to only serve the small part of the city where we live is so utterly offensive to me. I have given over 13 years of my time and energy to this city for the entire city. And the fact that someone would stand here and say that to my face, and that my neighbors, because you are my neighbors, because I lived on Bainbridge Road for 14 years, and I live now on Severn, would sit here and clap. I am beside myself. And if Director Zampt was here, I'm sure he would be as offended as I am. So I just wanted to have that be said. I ran for this, to serve this entire city. This entire city. And any accusation to the contrary is deeply anti-Semitic, deeply offensive, and plays on Jewish global conspiracy canards that Jews have had to face for thousands of years. And I will not sit up here on the dais without speaking up to share how upsetting this is to me and to name it for what it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilwoman Stone or DeWitt Foy, is there anything from you, either of you?
I don't have anything, thanks.
Okay.
No, thank you.
All right, just want to make
President,
sure we're included. Yes.
May I?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Please.
Or wait, Councilman Posh.
Oh, so he wants you to go first.
I always thought the mayor should go first before a council person, but
It was council comments, so I'm happy for you to go first, but if you would like, I
You know, what I love is how polite we are now. That's just thrills me.
so there's a lot of stuff that's really new, as you mentioned. So I do have a lot of questions. I think the biggest one is to get the questions answered that the public has mentioned. And I would assume staff is going to be working on those and would have a time where they will share that with council and public.
Well, I will tell you what I'd like to do is put this on the agenda for April 6th for Committee of the Whole. I mean, I don't want to do it without staff saying, yes, we could be there and address some of these things, but.
And if we have time for it, then that's good. But I mean, I do think we need time for something like this.
And the reason I bring that up is because our clerk of council is going on vacation next week. We are meeting tomorrow to set the agenda. So, Mayor, maybe we can talk about this after about staffing that particular meeting. And go ahead, Mayor.
Thank you. As staff mentioned earlier, we're going to put together an FAQ. I think that there are a lot of really important clarifications for us to make about whether city money would be going into it, whether the grant could be used for other projects. So we will put all of that together, try to answer all of the questions that were asked tonight and get that out to folks. And I'm happy to try to do that in advance of the next meeting so that answers could be discussed in the committee of the whole. I just like to also share that I was disappointed by some of the comments that were made tonight. I have really appreciated having a chance to work with Jessica Cohen. She is undoubtedly one of the hardest working people I have ever met. Whatever it is, she is eager and willing to lend a hand, whether that is calling legislators, trying to help us get more funding for our city, or trying to improve privacy protections for residents, whatever it may be, she is always willing to help us. And like she said, she has served our city for over a decade on various boards and commissions. And so I'm very grateful for her service and totally support her. So, thank you.
In closing, I just want to thank everybody who was here tonight. We're always glad to have you here. We want to hear what you have to say. We're getting some of the information that we got today was the same information that you were getting for the first time today. We're, in a sense, at the beginning of this. I understand that things have been rumbling around about this private property for years, but frankly, we basically knew what you knew, that, you know, that little kind of scenario about the Congresswoman securing the funds. We found that out in an e-newsletter, you know, that was put out a year and a half ago or what have you, and so on. I also want to say this. I am convinced, I mean, this doesn't mean you have to be convinced, but I am convinced that everybody here, absolutely, and I almost hate to say it this way, but absolutely, including Councilwoman Cohen, is capable of serving this entire community. We get elected at large, and that is our job. And I would not work with somebody, at least not if I had a choice, if I didn't believe firmly that everybody on this dais and on Zoom can represent this entire city. There will be lots more coming. We will interact with the administration. A lot of good points were brought up today about, a lot of concerns were brought up today that we want to address and get more information about, and you can make sure you do that. Our next meeting, again, is April 6th. And please look on the website for the agenda because it will say Blanche Avenue discussion if we're going to do it. I can't make the agenda up right on the spot, but please, if you're, make sure you're on the city e-newsletter. Is there do you know it off the top of your head? You just go on the website to get the e-newsletter email to you.
I could look it up to see how people can subscribe. Because
that's very important. This is put out every Friday. And I'm going to adjourn this meeting at 7:32. Thank you again for coming.